You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 124. And today, how about we give you a abundance mindset boost and tackle the 9 biggest fears that keep entrepreneurs playing small and in fear. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact? Boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson here, and today I want to dig into some mindset stuff. I've been coaching a lot of people in our new Own Your Bold program and talking to potential clients, and there's been a lot of activity, but one thing I've seen over and over again is people are struggling with their thinking. They're operating out of a lot of fear, and this leads to a scarcity mindset. And so I want to help you today flip the switch on scarcity and start popping into that abundance mindset. So many amazing things happen when you come from abundance instead of that fear of scarcity. And the biggest one is you'll be able to grow your business faster, because a lot of people, when they're dropping into scarcity, they spend way too much time trying to sort out all the wrong things and not enough time in the right things. So I want to kind of unpack that a little bit for you today. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you have gotten into my free 5-part Own Your Bold training. This is how you achieve your biggest, boldest goals. And inside these 5 steps, I'm going to teach you how to shift into a bold mindset. That's even beyond abundant mindset. And think of it like this, like bold mindset isn't necessarily you have to do things that are not you. You learn how to become the most confident and courageous you. And in doing so, you're able to use more leverage. You're able to position yourself in your influence. You're able to grow and accelerate faster and get to those levels of impact and income you've been dreaming about. So get my free 5-part training at ownyourboldchallenge.com. Now, nobody likes to think that they're operating in scarcity, right? Like we all kind of know it's not an attractive place to be, but yet so many people get locked into these scarcity patterns. And scarcity is a way in which our mind focuses on the not enough. It focuses on what it can't have or what it doesn't believe it can do. And this kind of thinking is where stress and overwhelm and feeling trapped comes from. And it's a limiter. It's a way that we, maybe even unconsciously, are limiting our ability to achieve greatness, to really tap into more of a bold, confident mindset. Now, at the core, abundant thinking is where this sense of effortlessness, this sense of joy, and it's a feeling of prosperity, even in the face of not enough, right? So it's not like just because you think abundantly that you always have this flow of money coming in your door. It's not like, you turn on this gold rush that never turns off. It's a way of moving through life that makes you more resourceful, because you train your brain to find opportunities when everyone else is feeling trapped. And so I'd like to think of this difference between scarcity and abundance mindset as the difference between being resourceful and being trapped, right? Like when you're trapped, you don't feel like you have any options, but when you're resourceful, everything's an option. So think of it like the MacGyver of money mindset, right? If you're really young, you may not know what MacGyver is, but MacGyver was this popular TV show where whatever situation this poor guy got into, he could use tape and like some chewing gum or whatever to get himself to make the bomb stop going off, to rescue the people who were trapped, to get out of a hole that nobody else could get out of, right? Like he just had this infinite level of resourcefulness. And so those of us old enough to remember that TV show kind of use it as a joke. It's like, hey, you MacGyvered that situation. Well, I want you to think of an abundance mindset as your MacGyver mindset for money, for opportunity, for anything you want. So I want you to set an intention for today's episode that as I share each of these 9 areas of scarcity versus abundance thinking, I want you to notice which ones do you feel like you're operating more in scarcity versus which ones are you naturally more abundant or you've worked on being more abundant. And by the way, you can be scarcity in some areas and abundant in others. And so you can start to build that muscle in the areas that you're maybe operating from more scarcity, because ultimately healing these areas where you have fear that's leading your thinking will actually put you in a place to grow faster, will actually help set you up to serve more people, will actually help align you in ways to grow that you never even knew were possible. So there's so much power that comes from this shift into abundant mindset. And yes, you can train your mind to be abundant. You might want to actually take notes or go over to our show page at the amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com to go through the abundant versus scarcity comparisons. And we may even put a little image up there for you so that you can easily remember these comparisons. So at the foundation, I want you to just kind of take this in, that scarcity tends to operate in a transactional mode, meaning because it's fearful, because it's focused on like, okay, there's limits everywhere. It tends to operate in this, what's in it for me? Okay, so, or are we even? So if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And it's funny, like I've had people over the years where maybe it was feeling uneven to them and they would get totally bent out of shape because they were very transactional. It was very scarce for them. And I'm like, hey, look, sometimes it's a fit and sometimes it's not, right? Like we can't always go tit for tat. I'll have you on my podcast, you have me on yours. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes, we can cross promote each other. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes, like there's just so many different ways that the transactional mode keeps you in scarcity. Whereas abundance operates in a very generous spirit. Like there's there's unlimited opportunity out there in the world. There's unlimited financial flow to tap into. There's unlimited clients. And so if you can kind of keep that in mind as we're going through this and really in your own space of like, all right, where do I get into scarcity? It's a great way to think about the contrast. So let's start with scarcity number 1. Scarcity focuses on what you don't have enough of. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough opportunities. And what happens is scarcity gets so stuck in seeing what you don't have enough of, you don't even see what is all around you. And so it might look like this. A business owner might say, I need a mentor, but I can't afford it. So they don't hire a mentor instead of getting resourceful. A mentor or a entrepreneur might think, I really need to grow and there's all these tasks that I can't do myself, but I don't have someone to help me. So I'm just going to go without, right? Like I'm just going to keep doing it myself. And inside that scarcity thinking is fear. The fear of, I don't know how to do this, so I'm just going to keep doing it the way I do know how. And we'll talk about that comfort zone a little bit later. Whereas abundance says, I need help. I need a virtual assistant or I need a mentor. And you go out and you are intentional about hiring someone, even if you have no idea how to pay for it, because you know that doing it is going to catapult you forward. And instead of the I don't know how or I can't afford it mindset, which is that scarcity, the abundant thinker goes into it and says, I know I need this. So what would have to shift so I can pay for it? What would I have to be willing to do differently so that I can make this investment work? See where I'm going with that? So scarcity says I don't have it, so it can't exist. I can't do it. Abundance says I don't have it, I need it, so what do I have to be willing to do to get it? Let's go to the next one. Scarcity says I need to get all this stuff done now. And they tend to get so caught up in like hard work being the path that they pour all of their effort into the wrong activities. So they'll spend all their time, trying to figure out the perfect social media post, or they'll, get really busy with lots of minutia that doesn't really matter. It's not moving the needle forward. And so what happens is they get stuck and they don't accomplish results. And what they're doing in scarcity mindset is there's a fear there. There's a fear of not knowing how to do something, or a fear of not knowing what to do. So you just get busy doing what you do know how to do instead of really figuring out what's going to move the needle forward. And the abundant thinker says, what's the top 3 things that I need to do and only I can do to grow my business? And so abundance thinking says, boom, I am going to, make sure we're talking to 20 leads a week. I'm going to personally have those sales calls because I know I can enroll that business, or we got way too much sales to take care of, so I'm going to hire a salesperson. I'm going to be focusing on 3 primary marketing activities that I know drives our best people in, even if I don't know how to do it, right? So instead of being in this locked mindset of, I don't know how, I don't know what to do, so you just kind of stay busy doing stuff that doesn't matter. The abundant thinker goes out and gets the support, gets the clarity, and moves the needle forward no matter what it takes. And they don't get lost in the minutia. They get focused and intentional on what really will grow the business. Number 3, scarcity worries. Okay, so scarcity worries all the time. Scarcity sees this place as like there's limited opportunity. Almost even like scarcity mindset is there's one pie and we all have to divvy up the pie. And if I take one of those slices of the pie, someone else won't get enough of the pie. And so scarcity kind of runs in this victim mentality that things are done to you, that there's limited amount of resources on the planet and you have no control over it. Whereas abundant thinking sees the world as unlimited in resources. It sees that most resources on this planet can be replenished. Yes, there are some things that can't, but they focus on what can I control? What can I create more of? What am I willing to go get more of by stretching and growing into becoming that person? So abundance is an expansive mentality, knowing that they can command their own reality. They are in control of their destiny, that they can leverage their time and their talent to get more of what they need. So this might be more money, it might be more time, it might be more opportunity, it might be more clients, right? So think of it like this, like victim mentality is there's not enough and somebody's going to take something from me. And that really creates a sense of hoarding. If people are afraid that someone's going to come take something from them, they're going to hoard it. They're going to hoard their clients. They're going to kind of lock them down and make them feel bad if they want to leave and go on to the next program. I used to work with a mentor who, once I kind of graduated and got really successful, I got into more behind the scenes and I would speak at their events more and things like that. And one of the things that I saw going on was, as much as that mentor was amazing in so many different places, there was definitely this scarcity mindset as an undercurrent. And he would hold on to clients and team members with this manipulation that if they wanted to go expand their wings and go somewhere else, he would take things from them and make them feel like they were wrong or bad for wanting that next level. And it was really interesting because all he was doing was he was crushing the flow of abundance in his life. So really look at, like, are you worried about having enough? Do you tend to focus on there's limited amounts in the world, or do you see the abundance and just decide to tap into that abundance and create more of what you need when you need it? All right, number 4. Scarcity says yes to non-aligned opportunities because they don't believe there's enough out there. And yet an abundant mindset knows when something's out of alignment, or recognizes that something feels off, even if they don't know what it is, and trusts that. So here's how I see this unfolding for a lot of people is they're holding on to toxic friends, toxic team members, toxic clients, because they're afraid they won't be able to replace them. So I've heard it go down like, okay, yeah, I know this client is not really a great fit client for me, but I felt like I had to say yes because I needed the money. That's scarcity. I know you are going to probably go, but Melanie, I need to make sure the cash is coming in. Yes. But what would happen if you actually trusted the flow of the universe? Like you really trusted your abundance mentality and you said no to non-aligned situations, people, and opportunities, and waited or continued to, do your work to bring in the really aligned opportunities. What if you knew at those moments you were turning on the flow to hundreds or thousands instead of saying yes to the one? This is a huge shift in thinking here, because what happens, and going back to, you work really, really hard because you on some level believe it, hard work is the path. Like when you really believe in abundance, you know that when you wait for the right things, it actually activates expansiveness. But when you're saying yes to the wrong things, it dribbles. Like you can literally only bring in one or two because they take so much energy. They are, they're blocking your energetic flow. You're not expansive in that space when you're working with people or keeping people around you who are not aligned. They're not good for you. And I've seen some interesting shifts lately in some of my inner circle, whereas when people are recognizing this non-aligned opportunity and going, yes, it's tempting. Yes, it's like, I really want this. Yes, it feels all the right things, but something feels off. I have to say no. And really, really trusting that when you say no, it's not limiting you. It's actually opening up a portal to something even more amazing. So pay attention to where you are saying yes to something non-aligned because you're worried that more won't be coming your way. I think there's a Richard Branson quote that's so powerful here about how, opportunities are like buses. There's always the next one coming. You just have to decide which one you want to say yes to. And I think that really fits here. So number 5 is scarcity believes in competition. Abundance believes in co-opetition, and collaboration. So let's unpack this one. And I had a really great opportunity to learn about this early on in my career, that competition is a limiting, fear-based belief system. So when you see someone who does exactly what you do and you start to believe that they're going to take your clients or there's not enough for everyone, it's going to mess up your head. Trust me, I've done this one. I used to have a colleague who we were very close for a long time, but I did things they didn't do, right? They were more of a teacher and a mentor and workshop facilitator, and I was the coach. And then all of a sudden they added coaching, and it kind of dried up the collaborations we were doing. And I took it really personally, and it was really hard for me, and I felt heartbroken about it for a long time. And I got that it was a great business move for them, but there was just something inside of me that got a little twisted up about it. And at a certain point, I had to realize that I was in scarcity thinking around that. Now, first of all, I hadn't done my own due diligence and continued to build up multiple pipelines for clients for, new business coming in. So that was on me. But that scarcity thinking created like tension between me and that person. And, this was many, many years ago. And what I realized from that was that when you see that there are competition, like there are people who can compete with you and take clients, you will always feel like there's this limitation on the number of people out there in the world. And the truth is there's not. We can create more clients. We can create more leads. We can create more flow. We can find more revenue. We have unlimited opportunity. But when you believe that there is limits and you can't, align with somebody and collaborate with them in new and unique ways, then you shut the flow down. So abundant thinking is there's always more than enough. There's always plenty of clients. There's always plenty of opportunity. And, when you collaborate with people that you used to see as competition, you can actually create magic. Now, that doesn't mean every single person who does what you do is a potential collaboration. But if you go in with collaborative thinking, you can radically shift the energy and open up opportunities that might feel like a non-fit at first. I'll give you an example. So one way I shifted this was to start podcasting and I used to do teleseminars before we started the podcast, and then I did video interviews, and now we've moved to the podcast the way it is now. But I did this in a lot of ways so I could continue to collaborate with my peers who did similar things and give them a platform, give them a way to showcase what they're doing that I love about their work without feeling like there's competition. So I shifted out of this competitive model and saying there's not enough. And I'm like, well, if I was to collaborate with people that do similar things, what could that look like? There's plenty of things that we could do. People who speak and do big stages, instead of saying, no, you can't speak at my event, you do what I do, what they started doing was creating a few pay-to-play spots. All right, you want to come speak at my event? I'm doing all the work to build the audience. Then you can sponsor my event. You can pay me $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it was, or $5,000, and you can have a speaker spot. So getting creative with collaborations is how we open up the portal to so much more opportunity together. Let's move on to number 6. Scarcity cuts costs. Abundance invests. So I want you to think about this. Scarcity focus on the cost of everything. And obviously, there will be times when things feel like they cost too much. The amount of money coming in will not feel like it matches the amount of money going out. And yes, this happens to all business owners at some time in their journey, maybe multiple times. But what happens in that moment is scarcity worries, right? So they start to cut costs. They start focusing on what everything costs them. And they are looking at this upside down. So instead of looking at, I invest in the right growth activities to expand, even when things are inconvenient, even when cash flow is tight, even though I don't know where everything's coming from, when they know something's right, they feel it in their bones, they trust that process, and they invest, they're expanding their abundance mentality. But when you go into scarcity mode and you cut costs, then what's happening is you are shrinking. You are starting to focus again on that minutia. Like, it's that old saying that you step over $100 to pick up a penny. It's like, I'm so worried about saving my pennies, I miss the $100 opportunity right in front of me. I am so focused on cutting costs to get back down to where I need to go that you stop doing the things that you need to keep expanding. A very simple example of this is cutting back on marketing and mentoring when you have no idea what to do and you need more leads. When you stop getting mentoring, when you don't have cash flow, it's like cutting off your lifeblood. When you stop investing in your marketing, when you are wanting to grow leads, you're cutting off the life force of your lead source. So you really have to pay attention to what would abundance do. If I was coming from a place of abundance right now, what would I invest in to expand the opportunities coming my way? Now, again, you need to be strategic and intentional and not just throw money at anything, but you want to really pay attention to what will move the needle rather than stopping the needle altogether. All right, let's go to the next one, 7. Scarcity makes decisions based on comfort. Abundance makes decisions with a willingness to risk. So let's unpack this one. When you have a scarcity mindset, it's so important for you to stay comfortable, to not rock your boat, to make sure you are in maximum pleasure and you avoid pain. Now, I'm not saying that abundance mindset is all about being uncomfortable and no pleasure, but think about it like this. In the scarcity mindset, you're so worried about losing, failing, or making a mistake that you can't recover from that you're unwilling to take a step forward. Okay, so you're unwilling to get uncomfortable. You're unwilling to make a mistake. You're unwilling to experience that growth pain that you just stop. Whereas abundance thinking knows that in order to achieve that next level, they've got to do some things that are going to be uncomfortable. They're going to have to stretch. They're going to have to take action that scares them. Even if they end up someplace that they didn't think they were going to end up, they're not like seeing that as a mistake or a failure. They're like, okay, well, I'm continuing to learn and grow here. Like there's something on this path that I'm supposed to experience so I can get where I need to go. They see everything as growth opportunity, where scarcity thinking people see everything as problems. So this is a really big one, and it's super important to remember, is that when you're in scarcity thinking, you are driven to stay in your safety net. It is wildly unacceptable in scarcity thinking to do things that might lead to temporary and or permanent discomfort. And so you'd rather stay safe than take the risk. And if you really look at entrepreneurism, there is absolutely no comfort. There's no like safety net in entrepreneurial success. People just are willing to take the actions and really go where they need to go in order to achieve things they've never achieved before. And that's why it's not for everybody. Let's go to number 8. Scarcity judges, abundance admires. Scarcity thinking, really, it's critical. It's focused on, the reflection that something's supposed to be happening that's not. And they move immediately into that negative vibration of judging themselves or judging others for where they think they're supposed to be. Abundance, on the other hand, notices, maybe pays attention and reflects on a situation, and maybe even there's some admiration. If somebody's somewhere that they're not, they use that as information to fuel their desires, but they don't judge. There's noticing, not judging. And so the difference here is judgment has a negative vibration to it. There's criticism. There's someone's right, someone else is wrong. There's comparison in it. Where abundance is just simply okay, that's interesting. It doesn't feel great. I didn't like this or that, but here's what I do like about it. And they get very thoughtful about their responses. Now, here's why this matters. Because when judgment occurs, there's shaming, there's blaming, and again, we create this sense of someone's right, someone else is wrong. And the minute that kicks in, everyone loses. Really, when you think about that for a second. As leaders, as coaches, as mentors, as people who are inspiring action in others, when we're tapping into that judgment energy, there is scarcity in it. The minute someone has to be wrong in order for someone else to be right, there is scarcity in that. What would happen if you found the place where everyone could have a version of being right, even if you don't understand the other person? For them, it's right. I mean, look, if you're married, you have to practice this all the time, right? Your spouse sees it differently than you do. Or if you've been in a long-term relationship, even with children, it's like, doesn't mean that one person's right, one person's wrong. It means the way that person's model of the world is, they see it from a different set of filters. And when we layer judgment in that and make someone wrong for being different, we are in scarcity. Okay, so this one's an interesting one, and I'd love to create a dialogue about it with you if you're challenged by it. We'll be talking about it in the Amplify Your Success community, and I'll ask you which of the 9 factors did you most relate to. But this one in particular is really powerful, because when we move out of judgment, we can actually move back into love. If we can love people, even if we don't share their beliefs or we don't agree with where they're going, and we can appreciate and admire what they're accomplishing, even if it isn't in the model that we would do it under, then we actually can create a more powerful transformation on this planet. And we can accomplish more in the process. Let me move to the last one. And I left this for last because I think it's really important just to kind of bring this point home. Ultimately, scarcity thinking is about fear and limitation, whereas abundant thinking is about expansiveness of love and possibility. And so if we look at only the foundation of, am I looking at this and there's a limit here? Like there's a limit of time, a limit of money, a limit of something I can get from someone. And I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I need. It's scarcity. I'm afraid there won't be enough. There's scarcity. What would have to shift What would have to be different? What would you have to believe to flip into abundance and see more possibility, more opportunity, more time available? This could radically elevate your ability to have the business, the life, and the wealth you've always wanted. Now, yes, you can train your mind on this. And I'm going to remind you about my 5-part Own Your Bold training. It's all about shifting out of limits and shifting into abundance. And it's free right now. So get it at ownyourboldchallenge.com if you haven't already. Definitely practice abundance. Practice seeing every situation where fear is kicking in. What would have to happen for me to see this with more abundance? Write that down. When you feel triggered, when you feel like things are not happening the way you want them to fast enough, what would have to happen for me to think more abundantly here? I can't wait to hear what shifts for you around this. This is a very, very powerful part of becoming an amplifier in your business and your life. So see you again next week with more really powerful amplifying tools. This is Melanie Benson, your host. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you want to catch up on any of the show notes and circle back on any of the resources we shared in today's show, head on over to the show page at amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And remember, you amplify your results faster when you're in a community of other people who are moving and shaking. Join us at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. One last thing. When you've gained insight from today's episode, help us share that and inspire other people by heading over to iTunes, subscribing, and give it a review. iTunes absolutely loves seeing these reviews pop up, and it actually helps boost my show's visibility. So I would be super grateful for your reviews. And as always, I love seeing your shares of these episodes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come find me over there. Tag me in your shares. I'll give you some social media love right back. So see you next week for another inspiring episode of Amplify Your Success Podcast.